Do I have to like introduce myself for this part?
Yes, you're all set to go.
All right. So hello, I'm June. Today I'll be doing a presentation on how to prepare for an interview and then kind of the process of going into it. So the first thing before going in for a job interview is finding the job, right? So a lot of great places would be your local newspaper might have jobs. Craigslist actually categorizes the jobs for you. So if you're looking for something in education, something in a salon, something in business, they'll have that for you. They also section it off into part-time jobs. So if you're only looking to work like weekends or 3 days a week, that's perfect. And then they even have kind of like the odds and end jobs. So if you're just looking to pick up something for a couple of days, or you want to do something here or there, it's a really good option. There's also a couple of websites. So you have monster.com. That's going to be the options of something a little bit higher paying. It's not going to be like serving or just working a retail job. If you want to go that route, there's also snagajob.com, and that's going to be a lot of your hourly, grocery stores, restaurants, retail, things like that. So you can also check your local businesses if you know that you want to work at a certain grocery store or you want to work at a certain clothing retail place. You can just go into them. They might have applications there. They also might have the applications online. So once you are ready to look for jobs or ready to apply for jobs, the next step is having your resume. So a great place to start would be the templates for Word document. Your guidance counselor, your teachers, Ms. Keating might have templates for a resume for you guys. It's important to proofread it. You don't ever want to go into a job interview and they're like, hey, you misspelled something, on your resume. It's a little embarrassing. Make sure it's up to date if you've had your resume for a while. And then, have Ms. Keating or a family member, guidance counselor, somebody proofread it for you too, because as humans, we all make mistakes, and you might not catch those mistakes as you're reading it, but somebody else will. For your resume, a couple of good things to put on it would be any past jobs that you've had. So if you've ever, worked in retail, worked in a grocery store, stuff like that, I definitely put that on there so they can ask you about your past job experiences and kind of how they will relate to what you're interviewing for. If you haven't worked at many jobs before or haven't worked at all, you can also do your volunteer experience. Volunteer experiences will also bring a lot of the same skills in that jobs might, and it gives your interviewer something to ask you about. If you're looking for places to start, again, your guidance counselors, your teachers, they might all know really good volunteer opportunities for you guys in the community, and then it's a way to get out into your community and do something as well. A key thing is for your resumes, depending on what jobs you're interviewing for, you might need kind of a different resume or to change it up a little bit. Some jobs require different skills, so a grocery store isn't going to be the same thing as being an educator or going into, the business corporate field. So just keep that in mind. So once you have your interview all set up and you're ready to go, a next important step is how you dress for the interview. So I'm sure you guys know, don't wear shorts, don't wear jeans, don't wear anything that's torn up or, has holes or is supposed to look, like kind of that faded look. Leggings, don't wear leggings to a job interview. I'm sure you guys know that. High heels are good to stay away from. Things like that. For you guys, for females, it's important that your dresses or your skirts are not too short and that you're not showing a lot of cleavage, because you don't want your interviewer to be distracted by how you're dressed. You want them to notice you and not just what you're wearing. For dresses and skirts, I would make sure, not anything that's 2 inches, like more than 2 inches above the knee, because other than that, it's just getting into an iffy area. And then for males, tucking in your shirt, wearing an appropriate tie, stuff like that. Make sure your clothes are nice and ironed, wrinkle-free, stain-free, clean, like you should for a job interview. Tattoos and piercings are a big thing too. It might seem like it's acceptable, here at school, and some jobs do allow you to show your tattoos and piercings, but I would say anything besides ear piercings, just either take it out or cover it with a small Band-Aid. If it's a tattoo that's on, your arm, just wear long sleeves or can cover it with makeup. Walmart has really cheap cover-up that's like $5. It does wonders. Hair and makeup should be kept pretty minimal. Again, you don't want the interviewer to be distracted by just what they're looking at. You want them to notice you for who you are, and they want to be focused on you and what you're saying throughout the interview, not by this crazy hairdo that you're like, I'm gonna try it out for the first time today, because you want them to remember you. Jewelry should be kept to a pretty good minimum. I'd say 1 to 2 pieces. Again, same thing. You don't want them to be distracted by what you're wearing. You want them to be paying attention to you as a person. And then lastly, for your clothing is perfume and cologne. It doesn't seem like it's a big thing, but one thing that we always learned in high school is you don't know if that person might be allergic to something or be really sensitive to certain scents. So it's a good thing that if you're gonna wear perfume, like 1 spray and that's it. You don't wanna have like a cloud of perfume as you walk into the interview. Cell phones, a big thing with interviews. Obviously don't be on your phone texting or have it on loud while you're in the interview. You don't want them to hear your phone going off and think that that's more important than what you're doing at that moment. So if you can, leave it in the car, leave it at home, leave it with someone who maybe brought you to the interview. If not, just turn it off, leave it on silent. Don't want it going off during the interview. And even then, I know if I go in for a job interview, I won't even text before the interview because I don't want the interviewer to come out and greet me and I'm on my phone. To me, that just seems like you're more distracted and you think that phone is more important than what you're going in for. So when you're greeting the interviewer, maybe practice your handshake before you go in with a family member. It might seem silly, but a lot of people do think a handshake's a good first impression. So having a nice firm handshake is, a nice thing before the interview. Make tons of eye contact. Don't stare down the interviewer. You don't want them to get creeped out as you're just intently staring at them. But make sure you have eye contact as you're talking to them. Will show your interest. Smile, have fun with it. You don't want to seem like you're freaking out and shaking or nervous or just straight faced. Be careful of filler words. I'm sure you've heard me using them throughout this, but using things like, so, it can be distracting for the interviewer, and it is a way that, as we just do by accident of filling in that time while we're thinking of an answer. It is okay to, sit there silently for a minute, think about the answer, and then tell the interviewer. And then prepare questions beforehand. So if they're going to ask you things like, why do you want this job? Just maybe thinking of that before you go into the interview. So while you're there, you're not oh, well, I have always wanted to work here. Just having a couple of bullet points in mind before you go in is always a good idea. And then along that same line, having your own questions prepared before you go in. So I know before I go into an interview, I ask the person, or at the end I ask them what the pay is going to be if they didn't tell me that during the interview, because I don't want to accept a job and then find out that the pay is half of what I thought it was. That's not a good time for anybody. If you have any questions about the company, now is definitely time to ask them that, and it shows that you're interested in the job that you're applying for as well. You're not kind of just applying to get the job. You really want to work there and you really want to show the interest to them. And then thank them for their time at the end. Again, shake their hand as you leave and say thank you. Small things like that. After the interview is done, if you think it went well, you can always wait, I would say at least 1 to 2 weeks to follow up on it. Some places do want to see that interest of making sure that you got the job, asking them how it did, things like that. Go in person though, I personally wouldn't want to call. I just don't think that's it doesn't show as much initiative, if you're just picking up a phone being hey, just making sure everything's going well. And same thing after you put in your application or your resume, wait a solid 1 to 2 weeks and then go in person to talk to either whoever you applied to or whoever you interviewed with, just as a quick follow-up. I wouldn't do it more than once though. After that, it kind of just seems like you're hi, did you get it? Am I getting it? Are we good? See. Yep, same thing with applying. If you are going to do a follow-up after applying or after interviewing, I would go dressed ready to interview, especially if you haven't yet. The current job that I'm at, I just went in for a quick follow-up of hey, I'm just making sure you got my resume. And they said, yeah, let's sit down and have your interview now. So you want to go in making sure you're ready for that interview and you're ready to go, because you don't want to stand there and be oh, that's okay, I wasn't ready yet. Can we do it another time? If you're ready to go, just go for the interview. It's what you came in for. And then know their busy times and try to avoid them. So I work at a restaurant, and restaurants are generally busy for the dinner rush between 5 to 7. So if I'm going to follow up, I would avoid between 5 to 7 because generally the managers are going to be at tables, they're going to be in the kitchen, working with the servers, making sure that their company is working proficiently. So I would either go a solid 15 to 20 minutes before opening or right after they open, because usually that's their quiet time and that's when they can actually talk to you and not say, can you just come back or call back another time? And then just some wrap-up tips. Know where you're interviewing. If you're interviewing at a grocery store or retail or a restaurant, it's not going to be the same as interviewing for, a doctor's office or any sort of like corporate business. Your dress is going to be a little bit different. You can be a little bit more casual for a grocery store, a restaurant, things like that. You don't have to wear like a full-on suit. You can do a nice shirt, a nice skirt, flats, you're good to go. If you're going for, more of like a corporate setting, that's when I would dress it up a little bit more with a nice suit jacket or a business dress, maybe some, 1 to 2 inch heels, something like that. Every interview might not go well, and that's totally okay. You're just going to have off days. The interviewer might be having an off day. It might just not be the best fit for you, and that's okay. And it's good to know that walking into interviews that not every interview is going to be this awesome interview where everything goes just as planned. It happens. Maybe that company's just not the right fit for you. Applications can be online or in person, as I mentioned before. Some companies are really strict on this. The one that I worked for only does applications online. They don't accept applications in person. We don't give them in person. If you call about it, go straight online. Our business itself doesn't deal with it. Corporate deals with it. Some are the other way around. The local managers want to see those applications before they, ask you in for an interview, and some might not. Practice with a friend, family, parent, teacher, anything like that before you go in, especially if you haven't done interviews before. It can be a little bit intimidating to walk into a setting that you don't know and just have questions thrown at you. So if the person that you're practicing with can, say like, okay, you're going in for this job, and ask you kind of basic interview questions, you might feel a little bit more at ease as you're walking in. And then kind of a quick tip for me personally, eat before you go in for the interview. It might sound silly, but you might be, a little bit more anxious. You might just not feel as well. You might be more focused on the fact that you're hungry throughout the interview. So eating a quick snack, it will help you feel a little bit better. And then after that, just good luck. Have fun with the interview. Any questions? I know I kind of just went through it, but.
So when you go to a place, if you're going to be applying there, if you know their application is online,
Mm-hmm.
is it still better to go in person and ask if they'll do, if they'll give you a physical application, or is it better just to do it online? And
So if I'm going for a specific company, I usually go to the place, and then if they tell me applications are online, I would fill out the application online, submit it, and then wait that 1 to 2 weeks and go follow up in person, just so they know that you really want that job and you're really passionate about being there. Because like I said, like mine, you couldn't even print it out to submit it in person. They were like, you have to fill it out and put it in online. All right, thank you so much.